The Earnestly Speaking podcast is a show that is founded on free-flowing conversation and may at times venture into mature subjects. Listener discretion is advised.
I'm not going to talk about basketball. Nothing's happened with our team in the last 6 hours. We're going to start the same way tonight. Any basketball questions don't matter. Since we left shoot-around, 14 children were killed 400 miles from here. And a teacher. And in the last 10 days, we've had elderly black people killed in a supermarket in Buffalo. We've had Asian churchgoers killed in Southern California. And now we have children murdered at school. When are we going to do something? I'm tired. I'm so tired of getting up here and offering condolences to the devastated families that are out there. I'm so tired of I'm tired of the moments of silence. Enough. There's 50 senators right now who refuse to vote on H.R. 8, which is a background check rule that the House passed a couple of years ago. It's been sitting there for 2 years. And there's a reason they won't vote on it, to hold on to power. So I ask you, Mitch McConnell, I ask all of you senators who refuse to do anything about the violence and school shootings and supermarket shootings, I ask you, are you going to put your own desire for power ahead of the lives of our children and our elderly and our churchgoers? Because that's what it looks like. It's what we do every week. So I'm fed up. I've had enough. We're going to play the game tonight. But I want every person here, every person listening to this, to think about your own child or grandchild or mother or father or sister, brother. How would you feel if this happened to you today? We can't get numb to this. We can't sit here and just read about it and go, well, let's have a moment of silence. Yeah, go Dubs, you know. Come on, Mavs, let's go. That's what we're going to do. We're going to go play a basketball game. And 50 senators in Washington are going to hold us hostage. Do you realize that 90% of Americans, regardless of political party, want background check, universal background check? 90% of us, we are being held hostage by 50 senators in Washington who refuse to even put it to a vote, despite what we, the American people, want. They won't vote on it because they want to hold on to their own power. It's pathetic. I've had enough.
Powerful words there. Powerful words there by Golden State Warriors head coach Steve Kerr. Also fitting, not fitting, but also, if you don't know his background, especially, he lost his father to gun violence. So this hits home with him. First off, welcome to our Speaking Podcast. I'm your host, Ernest EJ Christian, coming to you. Recording this actually on May 26th. This will drop on May 27th, actually. We're actually recording this while the Warriors and Mavericks will start Game 5 in a few minutes. So I'm confident the Warriors will win Game 5 and be in the finals, so I'm not too concerned about that. So we're recording this I wanted to record this a little later, but, you know, with schedule stuff going on, I had a couple things I take care of here, so trying to get this in now while I could. But yeah, this has been on my mind all week long. This tragedy in Uvalde, Texas, the elementary school there. 19 students, 2 teachers killed. The suspect, I'm not giving a name because it doesn't matter. 18-year-old high school kid is dead. He also shot his grandmother. This has been obviously the big topic of the week. And I mean, it has to be. We're dealing with kids here. I mean, we've had shootings, recent shootings, really. You know, but obviously the Buffalo grocery store situation where a white man, you know, shot black people in there, African Americans, black people also in the store. We just found out, which a story I slipped by me actually. Asian Americans in California getting shot in a church, and now this. And, you know, obviously when these things happen, you know, Sandy Hook, Columbine, you know, you name it, any of these tragedies, Parkland was around the corner here from my house. the gun control debate starts. And it always goes there, And you guys know where I stand on that. I'm not a gun guy. What I mean by that is that I don't necessarily am someone who owns guns or has a fetish or really a want to own guns. But I'm actually a pro 2A guy. I actually, am someone who believes that people should have the right to bear arms. But Steve Kerr is on the same side of what I've been saying for years. That 90% of Americans, want, comprehensive background checks to be the norm. I mean, I think, whether you stand on gun rights and gun control, that if we can't even have a discussion about the basics when it comes to gun control, that, and again, we've spoken about this on this podcast many times over with all these tragedies. This podcast has lasted over 10 years. So we existed when Sandy Hook happened. We existed when Parkland happened. We spoke on those things. Not so much detail, but we did speak on those things. And the same thing comes again to why can't we have common sense, comprehensive gun control? A lot of people are saying, well, we need more guards, armed guards at schools. And for the record, I'm okay with that. I'm actually okay with having armed guards. In fact, you should have multiple armed guards at schools. My son's school has an armed guard there, or police officer there at least. I am for that. It's a start, yes, but it's not enough, in my opinion. I think that just that being the only thing that happens to satisfy a certain segment of the population, no. We're not here to satisfy anything. We're here to have common sense here. Again, no one is... I feel like I'm going in circles when I keep saying this. No one is taking the guns away, man. No one is taking the guns away. It's not going to happen. I remember when Barack Obama got elected in 2008, and first thing I heard from people on the right, oh, he's going to take guns away. Has anything changed? In the 8 years he was president, anything happened? Anything changed in that one? When Joe Biden became president 2 years ago, same thing. Has anything changed? In fact, nothing has changed when the people who were the wackadoos on the other side of the aisle, the gun control folks who are on the other far end side of things, are disappointed that there aren't laws. So we need to start this conversation with common sense. No one is coming after your guns, okay? We just want common sense gun control. We want comprehensive background checks. Why is that a problem? Why can't we start a conversation there? Seriously, I don't understand it. But another thing too, also, and this is why I'll pivot here to some degree. Gun control will go. Having gun control background, laws will go a long way. But let's be real here. There's also many, many deep-rooted issues that people either refuse to or just not aware of. It is time to start having uncomfortable conversations at home. Bottom line, So in the case of this person, this person who shot and killed these people and killed himself, he had a really bad home life. Supposedly he was bullied, and this and that. It goes back to the home and how we raise our kids and making sure they're directed the right way. That doesn't mean that it's going to be guaranteed. No. But a lot of these issues are so deeply rooted, it goes beyond gun control. Yes, gun control will be the thing that gets you get ahead of a lot of things, and certainly it will limit the things that happen. But we do need to start having uncomfortable conversations. But again, it shouldn't be easy. It shouldn't be as easy to purchase a firearm like I do my Frosted Flakes. And I'm sorry, some families in this country, it is easy to purchase a firearm just as easy as it is to buy Cheez-Its. That's pathetic. It really is. It's sad. My wife, we saw the news, and my wife she got triggered by this, and she, we have 2 kids and 2 sons, and she didn't want the boys to school. They just finished school this week, and she was worried about them going to school. It's triggering a lot. But there's also another factor too, and I hate to bring this up, but between the Roe v. Wade leak now, and now we have this situation, You saw Beto O'Rourke in Texas interrupt a meeting by Greg Abbott on Wednesday, which honestly didn't bother me because, I'm not necessarily someone that loves Beto, but this is the issue he's very passionate about: gun control, or common sense gun rights. I have no problem with that because we need change. Something needs to change. We can't continue to just go through this like it's nothing, like it's in the news cycle now, and then 2 weeks later, no one gives a shit about it. Let's be real. This is a major issue. I do wonder also too, though, how will this impact things politically next 6 months also too? We're 6 months away from the midterms. I know, and I hate saying this because we have dead bodies here, but this does impact political stuff as well too. This is a political issue. People say, "Oh, don't make it political," and this is a political issue too. Let's not run away from the obvious. This is a political issue as well. And you have this situation. You have now the Roe v. Wade draft slate that came out about a month ago, a couple weeks ago. I'm curious if there will be some political blowback on this. I'm really curious because I've had the opinion that the Republicans, who obviously most Republicans are on the right side when I say right, I mean like they're on the gun right side of this argument. Most Democrats are on the far left gun control side of the argument. Although when we say 9% people want gun laws, that's a mixture of both parties, in my opinion. Well, that's not my opinion. That's just a fact. There are obviously clear lines to this issue. But we need to better communicate. That most people are good with gun rights. We just want title laws on who gets to own them. That's all. But this could be an issue. Like I said, I've been saying for about a year now that the Democrats are probably going to get slaughtered in the midterms in November. Well, you have Roe v. Wade, and now you have this situation now, the gun, this tragedy, unfortunately. Does this help Democrats in the midterms? Which I hate saying this because, dead bodies shouldn't be your bat signal to say, let's make changes now and let's put pressure on that. Shouldn't need that. Will this have political blowback? We shall see. I don't know. But, again, prayers to, the families. I just saw today one of the teachers that got killed, her husband just passed away today due to a heart attack. Most likely reactive to what happened with his wife. I mean, it's horrible. There's effects and effects of this thing. I mean, is this on my mind? This thing's still on my mind. And again, when you don't have to have a kid to not care about this, but when you have children too, especially, it's like it just hurts. It really does hurt. I was saying earlier, my kids are officially done with school for the year as of today. And like my wife didn't want. She was really so triggered by this whole thing. She almost didn't want to send them to school for the final 2 days of the week, but we did it anyway because they wanted to go, and it's the right thing to do. So it's it's a sad situation. It really is. There's no better way to move on from this. But listen, if you're passionate about this situation, if you're passionate about all this, call your senators, call your representatives, apply pressure on the people that work for you. Which is politicians. They work for you. We need to keep remembering that. These fucking people work for you, man. I mean, seriously. So, anyway. No easy way to move on from this, obviously. As I said, my kids are first out of school for the year. I spoke in the last podcast, solo pod, how things are going to be affected a little bit for the next couple months, because of them being home, and I got to be involved, and typically I do all my podcast recording on a Tuesday, especially during the day, but that's gone now because they're not here. Now they're here now for the rest of the summer. So things are probably going to be affected, at least for the first next 2 months. Which is okay because typically, like I said, during the summer I tend to slow down a little bit on recording. So we'll see how things go. I already made some modifications in terms of when we record, and I've been doing daily shows last couple weeks, but that's also only because the fact the playoffs have been so active in the NBA and wanted to get have a reaction to each game. But as things are winding down now, we'll get to the NBA Finals next week, and obviously the amount of shows. I've kind of fallen into a rhythm now where I'm doing solo shows on Tuesdays, and I'm dropping shows on Fridays. Recording Thursday night and dropping Friday morning. So I think Tuesday and Friday, like I said, Tuesday, Thursday recordings, Tuesday, Friday drops on the feed for the solo shows, and maybe throw an interview or two in the middle of the week. In addition to all the little things I do around that, take the wrestling and all that stuff. So, also, like I also mentioned, a couple days ago on the podcast that the File for Content podcast, which I, with Kyle and Jim, I was going to record early in the week. We couldn't do it last minute on Tuesday, and we're going to actually move the launch till June because of the schedule. Like I said, because the schedule as well too. So, so look out for we're going to put that out after we get past this next couple of weeks with the NBA. Like I said, my schedule is now shrinking a little bit, and I already have a couple bookings ready set in stone. I need to get through first as well. So we're going to probably start recording those episodes, or that first episode in a couple of weeks. So look out for that, of course. But I'm still pretty excited about the Five Content podcast. Like I said, moving to mid-June at least. So let's get to the NBA real quick. East Finals. The Boston Celtics take a commanding 3-2 lead. Yeah. What did I say before the series started? I said this, that the winner of Game 5 is winning this series. And I said if Boston wins this series, it'll be in 6 games. And I'm sticking to that. In fact, I'm feeling more confident about that situation now because if you saw the Heat on Game 5 last night, Wednesday night rather, yeah, they have no legs. They look gassed. Jimmy Butler obviously is hurt. No Tyler Hero to play for the second game in a row. It just looked bad. They just looked like the team that was disengaged. They were leading the first half, and then Boston took over. It just feels like Boston's time, And I said all year long, I'm a fan, obviously, so I'm not going to sit here. I'm not going to bullshit you here, but, at no point this year did I ever think the Heat were a finals team. I thought their ceiling was the conference finals, and to their credit, they've reached that ceiling. But this is also the best chance, in my opinion, to win the championship, because I think things next year are going to change. We're going to have teams coming back next year in both conferences. Teams that were out of the mix this year because of injuries should be back next year. So, but once the season's over, I'm looking to do a State of the Heat episode with probably with a Dave Ramil or probably with a Alphonse Sidney. We'll see next week or two to kind of review the year and see what the Heat are as a franchise. We'll probably do that. Hopefully, we'll see. I mean, if they find a way to win Game 6 on tonight, and then Game 7 on Sunday, then obviously we can extend that. But I always do like a State of the Heat podcast after the year's over, so we'll see how that goes with that. But I think it's over for the Heat on Game 6, honestly. So we'll see how that goes. Joel Embiid, Joel the Troel, was Troel Embiid, tweeted during the game saying the Heat need another superstar. Another star, rather. And initially when I saw the tweet, I was like, oh, okay, yeah, they need another star. They need another whale, probably. It didn't hit my mind that maybe he was trying to play around and say that maybe he wants to go to Miami. Look, Joel Embiid ain't going anywhere. Let's stop. So I'm not trying to speculate that. But, given the fact that, when he says another star, he knows that Jimmy Butler is a star. I mean, obviously they played for half a year in 2019 together in Philadelphia before Jimmy went to Miami. And obviously Jimmy and Embiid do have an affinity for each other, obviously. But Joel Embiid ain't going anywhere. Let's stop. I think Joel is doing the thing on Twitter. Joel the Troel, which really means troll. He's trolling. He's just trolling folks. No big deal. Stop it. As I said, as we're recording this podcast right now, Warriors and Mavs Game 5 just started. This tipped off. I think Warriors close it out. But unfortunately, I was hoping to do this podcast after the game, but because of the scheduling complex here tonight, I have to put this in as part of now. But I am very confident Golden State will be the Western Conference champions by the end of this night. So, but yeah, obviously, if something changes, between now and the next podcast we do on Tuesday, we'll have to probably modify that. We'll see how that goes. Maybe I'll throw an emergency podcast over the weekend. We'll see. Anyway, NBA, all NBA teams were announced this week, and they actually got these teams, most of these teams, close to what I had. So here's the announcement. Here are the three teams, the first, second, and third teams. First team they had Devin Booker, Luka Doncic, Jason Tatum, Giannis Antetokounmpo, and Nikola Jokic. Okay, I had John Morant, Devin Booker, Kevin Durant, Giannis, and Joel Embiid, actually. So I was 2 of 3. I had Booker, I had Booker and Giannis. So it's 2 to 5, actually. Second team, they have Steph Curry, John Morant, DeMar DeRozan, Kevin Durant, and Joel Embiid. I had Chris Paul, Luka Doncic, LeBron James, Jason Tatum, and Nikola Jokic. Third team, they had Chris Paul, Trae Young, LeBron James, Pascal Siakam, and Karl Anthony Towns. I had Steph Curry, Trae Young, DeMar DeRozan, Pascal Siakam, and Karl Anthony Towns. So there was some comparisons there to what the NBA had versus what I had. You know, it is what it is. Like I said, I went very, very specific to positions. I do think, though, honestly, they should really scrap that from going forward and just pick the best 15 guys in the league and have people vote on that going forward. You know, you create a tier of 15 guys that are in the 15, and then you vote based on that. You know, regardless, if you have 4 centers there or 3 centers in there, so be it. They're the first team. I don't think it matters by position. Honestly, I think you pick the five best guys on one tier, next 5, and then the third 5. I don't think it's that hard. So that's the way you should do it going forward. Staying in the NBA, the Nets. Rumors are the Nets are unwilling to give Kyrie Irving a long-term extension. And here's the quote from CBS Sports. The Nets championship hopes hinge on an amicable solution with Irving, whose personal decision not to get vaccinated and unpredictable injury history has left the Nets hesitant, and now, according to a source familiar with the Nets' thought process, outright unwilling to give him long-term extension. Okay. Who's surprised about that? No one's surprised about that. In fact, that's the attitude you should have. You know, I don't blame him at all. Kyrie Irving is more than proven to be an unreliable player. That's a fact. I mean, who is surprised by that at all? I mean, you know, I know Stephen A. said something on First Take a week ago, like they should do one a year-to-year thing. Maybe that's a little extreme, but to give this guy another 5-year contract. We can't. First off, the injury thing was been a thing since Cleveland, so let's be real on that. He's unreliable. I mean, the guy's a weirdo. I mean, I'm not gonna sit there and make fun of the guy, but the guy's a weirdo. Okay, and you know, you're giving this guy a lot of money, and then again, the vaccination thing. You know, it's his right to do what he wants to his body. I'm not gonna force him to vaccination, but I don't have to pay you either. You know, you chose that route. And honestly, you know, I don't blame the Nets here at all. I don't blame them at all. I think the only issue now going forward is how does this affect Kevin Durant going forward? Because him and Kevin Durant are boys. The whole reason Durant's being there is because of Kyrie. You know, and now we're hearing reports now that Kevin Durant has not spoken to the team since the end of the Boston series when they got swept by the Celtics in the first round of the playoffs. It's gonna be a fascinating offseason here. And by the way, Kyrie Irving has a decision to make. He has a month before he has to opt in his contract, or if he chooses to opt in his contract. It's gonna be a very, very fascinating situation there. Another NBA related thing. Reggie Miller, of course, everybody knows who he is. Reggie Miller, the Hall of Famer, TNT, analyst, all that. Had a comment on a podcast that he appeared on last week. He said that Drazen Petrovic. I mean, if you guys know who Drazen Petrovic is, you kids, you need to go look up YouTube right now. Drazen Petrovic is one of the most talented guards in history of the league that played 3-4 years in the league, because unfortunately his life was ended by a car accident in Yugoslavia. He said that not Michael Jordan, but Drazen Petrovic was the toughest person he ever guarded, ever had to guard. And that doesn't surprise me at all, because I've heard things like that of that nature for years about Drazen being one of the toughest guys to guard. In fact, I've heard Michael Jordan himself say that Petrovic was probably the hardest guy to guard. Because he was gritty and this and that. Shouldn't surprise anybody at all. You know, Drazen was a fantastic player. Well, actually, to be honest with you, as a guy who loves 90s NBA, 80s NBA, Drazen is one of my favorite players I've ever watched play basketball. And it's a shame that that's the one guy, one of the three or four guys, honestly, that I wish, if you told me which guy would you love to see healthy, play an entire career that was shortened by either injury or tragically death, of course, Petro is definitely one of the top 3 guys for me, easily on my list of guys. The other 2 probably Grant Hill, maybe Penny Hardaway, But Drazen was a bad motherfucker, man. I'm sorry, he was a bad motherfucker. So you guys, as a podcast, if you don't know who he is, look up Drazen Petrovic on YouTube. Look at videos. He was incredible. I remember watching him a couple of years with the Nets, and wow, he was amazing. So we're going to start a new thing on the podcast on probably on the Friday edition of the Earnestly podcast. We're going to do a question of the week thing. And this is actually something that I decided to do because I was inspired by something I saw on Facebook this week, and it had to do with Lamar Jackson. And CBS Sports actually was the ones who triggered this whole thing. CBS Sports was asking the question about where Lamar Jackson was ranked. So I have an Earnestly Speaking community on Facebook. That have people who are part of the community that we share things in there, and we share sports or whatever articles in there. And I asked the question. Well, let's see where people stand on the topic about Lamar Jackson. Where does he stand? Is he a top 10 quarterback? Basically, the question was this: where's Lamar Jackson ranked as a quarterback in the league entering the 2022 season? Nick Ficarelli says top 15. Well, I agree with that, obviously. It might be a lot higher than that, of course. Corey Vasquez says third best in his division. I'm assuming he's going to say that Joe Burrow and I guess Deshaun Watson will be the other guy that's probably better than him, I guess, in his opinion. Cliff Connors says, well, he's one of the best running backs in the game. That's where he ranks as a QB. That's a shot, obviously, Cliff. Come on, dude. By the way, I got to click back on the podcast, talk some Mets baseball. Sean Bakke says, comeback season, he's too good not to be in the top 10. Staying here, too, our own Chris Chrismanic says top 10. I agree. Daniel Trowick says top 10. The hate must cease. Doesn't matter his style of play. He wins games and was the MVP. Play calling sucks, which is his fault, but that's okay from a Browns fan. Andrew Miller says top 10 as well, too. Tony Williams says top 5 threat, but top 12 quarterback. I can see that. I got a higher on Lamar than most. Joel Schaefer, our old friend from the radio show, Joel from Minnesota. Joel says 16 to 20 quarterback area. Maybe not a starter if he as bad as he was last year. Doesn't make any sense, Joel. Because Lamar Jackson was 8-3, and actually the lead for MVP before he got hurt. So I don't know what I don't know if your memory doesn't remember how good a season he had last year, and he was doing this with a team that was already entering the year with a vast load of injuries. Wow, I'm stunned. I'm stunned he said this. I really am. Joel in Minnesota, but we miss you on the podcast. But wow, that's a take if I've ever heard of one, honestly. But anyway, we'll probably do these questions a week on Thursday for the Friday shows, and all that. Let's see what else here. NFL too as well. More info news here. Colin Kaepernick is back. Well, sort of. He's worked out with the Raiders today. Well, yesterday rather. According to the Raiders, the workout went well. The team is still mumbling details beyond that. Now, actually, according to Mike Florio, he says that a source with knowledge of the situation, there were actually 2 other teams that were interested in Kaepernick before the workout. He didn't specify what teams that was. So here's my thing. I don't even want to get bothered. I don't really want to bother getting specifics of whether he should be back in the league or not, because as long as the team that's willing to add him, he deserves to be in the league. I still have doubts that he'll make a 53-man roster come opening week. I mean, let's be real. The guy hasn't played a snap in 6 years. Okay, and 6 years ago he wasn't even that great. He was average at best. Okay, and again, I'm not gonna get into the gritty of the kneeling stuff though. I may have some issues with how he handled things to some degree, but no one can dispute this that he got blackballed. Case point. Period. Do I want to Kaepernick back in the league? Yeah, sure, but. Is he going to make the league, in my opinion? I don't see it happening. I really don't. I have my doubts. Let's be real there. More NFL talk here. Dwayne Haskins, of course, you remember Dwayne Haskins, the quarterback for the Steelers, backup quarterback, was killed on April 9th. There's been details that out from his death, from his accident in here in South Florida. He was supposedly drunk before the accident. Dwayne Haskins ingested ketamine in the hours into his passing, and also had a blood alcohol level of 24 at the time of his accident. According to his autopsy report that was also released on Monday, 2 of Haskins' blood samples tested positive for alcohol, with one revealing a .20 BAC and the other a .24. That's really high. The report also showed Haskins' urine samples tested positive for both ketamine and let's get this right here. I hope I pronounce it correctly. Norketamine. Okay, I think that sounds right. Haskins' wife has asked for privacy around this matter. Again, a very sad story. A guy that was a fantastic college player. Obviously didn't really make a big splash in the NFL, but he played on 2 teams. So, if you make an NFL roster, you got to be good enough to play football. So, again, very sad story coming out of that situation. Let's talk a little baseball. We don't do a lot of baseball on this podcast as of late. But I'm going to be probably a few weeks, once the finals are over, I'm going to do a pod probably with someone talking about baseball and just kind of get a review of the season so far. But I keep it. Obviously, I'm a baseball fan, but I mainly follow my team, the Mets. I follow my team. It's because the Mets. DeGrom can be back by the All-Star break. The Mets are in first place. They're playing good baseball. Obviously lost the series to the Giants this week. It's only the second series lost of the year, but they've been playing well even up DeGrom this season. And they just lost back Scherzer for another 5 to 6 weeks. Hopefully they can maintain that. We'll see what happens, how that goes. But if the Mets can sustain what they're doing right now until they get to the the All-Star break, or even beyond that, that'd be amazing. Both of the New York teams playing fantastic. In fact, the Yankees are the best team in baseball right now. Aaron Judge is one of the reasons why they are that good. And dude, he is going to get paid. He's a free agent at the end of the year. He's going to get paid. He has right now, as of yesterday, I haven't followed, but as of yesterday, he has 17 home runs. Yankees are the best record in baseball right now. He actually rejected a 7-year, $213 million deal this past offseason. Free agent next year. He's currently making $17 million a year. He's 30 years old. He's got to cash in sooner rather than later. The question is going to be this: he will get paid, but it's by who and how much. And there's a lot of reports saying that he can make upwards of $300 million for X amount of years. I don't know. The only issue I think really going to have here, because of his age, he'll be 31 next year. Will he get the money he wants long term? We've seen guys like Al Pujols get like these 10-year contracts, a little bit to the end of the prime, and then by the end of the contract, it's not a good contract anymore. Stanton, same thing too. Giancarlo Stanton, same thing as well too. He'll get a lot of money. I'm just curious if he'll get a front-loaded contract where the team whether it's the Yankees or anybody else, will decide to front-load a contract to make sure they get what it's worth on the front end, and not worry about paying a lot on the back end when it's time as he ages. But let's be real here. Aaron Judge is going to get paid, and as he should. The question is, by who and how much? We'll see how that goes. All right, some WWE news here. WWE has moved July's Money in the Bank. Remember, it's no longer pay-per-view anymore. It's called Premium Live Event. The PLEs, Premium Live Event. They have moved the event from Legion Stadium to a smaller venue of the MGM Grand Garden Arena. Tickets were notified today that it's moving. There was no reason why there was no reason given why, but I would suspect it has to do with the tickets not being sold as well. Supposedly, as of May 1st, my birthday, they only sold 16,833 tickets. Now, the event was supposed to be held at Legion Stadium, home of the Raiders. It holds 65,000 fans for football. And obviously, 16,000 tickets is fantastic for an arena show. 16K for a stadium show, not so well. So obviously it has a lot to do with ticket sales being really bad for this thing. This is obviously an attempt to make the Money in the Bank show as big as the Big Four tentpole shows. The Big Four, of course, being SummerSlam, WrestleMania, Survivor Series, and Royal Rumble. Here's the thing: from a structural standpoint, if you're a WWE fan, of course, from a structural standpoint, Money in the Bank should be a Big Four show, but it's not. It doesn't have the name. It doesn't have the name value that Survivor Series, or SummerSlam, or Mania, and Rumble does. So I'm not terribly surprised. Especially the fact that also, too, in addition to that, and I didn't understand this either, even when they booked this back like early in the year or last year, why they booked back-to-back months of stadium venues between Money in the Bank in July and then SummerSlam in August. Well, late July, rather. I think sometimes this year's in late July as well, too. They're making sense to me. But in any case, I really believe they did this because of the sales are really bad. I mean, there's no other reason why you move this show. And did the right thing. because it'll look bad on TV. If you go to a stadium show and you only see 20,000 people in the stadium, it's a bad look. This is what it is. So anyway, staying in WE. One more thing here. Mick Foley is actually launching a new podcast. Mick Foley, the podcast is called Foley's Pod, hosted by Conrad. Again, another Conrad Thompson podcast. It's funny because he has this. He has Something Wrestle with Bruce Pritchard. He has Jeff Jarrett. He has Grill and JR. Although Grill and JR, I haven't seen Conrad much on that show as of late. Has he given up the shark on Grill and JR? I don't know. So the show, the podcast is dropping on June 3rd, which is next week. I'm looking forward to hearing stories from the Attitude Era, but also stuff from his early WCW years and his work in Japan. I think this has potential to be probably the best Conrad Thompson podcast of all. Maybe outside of Bruce Pritchard, because Bruce Pritchard, I think, what's fascinating about Bruce, honestly, even though you really believe or disagree with what he says, his insights more from the inside. But Foley was a top star. Foley was, especially in the biggest era in the history of wrestling, which is the Attitude Era, he was one of the, you had Austin and Rock, of course, okay, but then he was definitely a second-tier star, but a big second-tier star. It was him, too. It was Rock and Austin on the top, but then you have Foley and Triple H and those guys right there, right under them. So I'm sure he has fantastic stories to share, and I'm looking forward to that podcast. Again, June 3rd, will be dropping next week, Friday. How does Conrad have all this time to do his podcast? Seriously, I'm here struggling to do podcasts, and granted, I do a lot of podcasts for a guy that's not making a ton of money on them, but here's Conrad here grinding, and he still does mortgages too on top of that. It's crazy. It really is. Anyway, before I go, last thing, because we're ending the podcast now. So I said earlier in the podcast, on the Thursday shows, we'll be doing a question a week on the podcast. We'll find random questions of the week, and we'll have people, on Twitter and on Facebook, answer them, of course, and we'll read them off all on the episode. But starting next week on the Tuesday episodes of the podcast, so obviously, Tuesday and Fridays is going to be the days going forward, solo podcast. We're going to be introducing a top 5 segment on the Tuesday episode of the podcast. You guys know I love ranking things. I am obsessed with ranking things, random things. And some things are serious, too. So we're going to start doing that. We're going to find 5 things, top 5 things to rank every single Tuesday in the podcast, and we'll just have fun with it. And it'll be my personal top 5 of things that I'll put out there. So, there it is. Anyway, I think that's it for now. Again, we're recording this in the middle of Game 5 between the Warriors and Mavs. If I could check the score right now before I sign off, because I'm confident the Warriors are going to win this game tonight and the series. As of right now, first quarter, Warriors are up by 5. The first quarter just ended, actually. So, yeah. Again, I'm on Twitter at EJChristian7, Earnestly Podcast at all podcast catchers. Especially, guys, please, YouTube, Earnestly Media, subscribe, please. We're trying to get 100 subscribers soon. We're getting closer to that. So, please, just hit the subscribe button on there, please. Really appreciate it. Other than that, talk to you guys soon. God bless y'all. Again, keep your prayers and thoughts to the folks, the families dealing with it in Texas. It's been a rough week, but we'll get all through. We'll get through it, guys. Love you guys. God bless you. Stay positive, stay up, and we'll talk soon.